Hey friends, it's review time, and next to me is a 2022 Nissan Frontier. Now, this is the new body style, this is the redesigned Frontier, and this is the first year that redesigned body is out. We are here in California's Sierra Nevada mountains. You can see the big pine trees behind me. And over the course of the next week, we're gonna take this thing through some trials. And that's all starting right now. All right, first let's talk about a couple outside details that matter. This is the SV package. Starting price on that is about $32,000. Starting price on the base model Frontier for this 2022 model year is about $28,000. As equipped, this is a two-wheel drive. If you're gonna look at a four-wheel drive, it's my personal opinion, you ought to look at the Tacoma. I'll explain why a little bit later in the video, but stick with me. This one, V6, 3.8 liters, 310 horsepower. Not too bad, all things considered. It's a good little two-wheel drive. Again, we'll get into a couple of the specifics in a minute. Those are a couple of the outside details. Let's take a quick look under the hood. All right, here we are under the hood. Not gonna go into a whole lot of technical details here, but I do wanna give you a quick look because, believe it or not, to some people this does still matter. So here's how it's laid out. You got your air filter intake system on the right over here, battery on the left, and honestly, in terms of the layout, I'm kind of impressed here. It's a big deal to me, to some people it's not, but how easy it is to get to some of this stuff matters to those of us that still like to do what we can to these vehicles. So that's the reason I wanted to give you guys a look at it. Here it is. I think Nissan did a good job with how they've got this power plant sitting in here. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. One thing that I would like to point out is that there is no front camera on this model. That can be a factor on trucks that have a higher hood for clearance of seeing things like little people standing in front of you and little people's toys down in front of you 3 or 4 feet out. Might be an aftermarket option, but factory on this SV model, not there. Okay, so next we're gonna go to the back seat, and then after that, we're gonna go to the front seat, and then after that, we're gonna go to the bed section. And we're gonna do them in that order just because I kind of feel like doing it that way. So, let's take a look in the back seat. I'm gonna run around the vehicle while the cameraman comes in right here. Come on in, buddy. Okay, so first things first, this bottom section of the seat does not fold down, at least not that we could figure out. What Nissan does allow you to do is to fold this section down, and it's almost flat. So you've got a little bit of room right here that you could stack like a cooler on top of or what have you. And it stacks pretty high to the ceiling there. What they do give you is a little plastic bin underneath the seat, and it's just big enough for you to put things like your small liquor bottles. Not that I would know, but that's what it looks like under there. Now, you've also got back here a couple power options. You've got a USB-C charging port and a traditional USB-A port. So no matter what cable you've got, they've got you covered. And you've also got an AC 110 power port that will go up to 400 watts when the alternator is spun up. We'll get to that in a minute, and that is, little hint, one of the reasons why I wanted to start in the back seat, because the controls for that are in the front seat, and I wanted to show you what it was before I showed you how to control it. So there you go. All right, next section. Oh, hang on, one more thing. I almost forgot. Sorry, guys. So you do have some cup holders back here. If you fold this center section down, it is both a combination armrest and you've got 2 cup holders in there. Now, they're not adjustable cup holders, but they do have the little rubber feet thingies in them, or the gripper thingies, or whatever those thingies are. They're thingies. But pretty decent size, big gulp style cups, definitely bigger than a 12-ounce cola or beverage can. So there you go. That's your center console armrest gadget thingy. Now we're moving on. Hi there. Okay. Check these columns out right here. We have these buttons, I should say. We have tow mode. This is your just instrument cluster lighting. This is your backup or collision avoidance alert, cargo lamp, traction control, and then right here you have the inverter power. Now you have to actually turn this on with the engine running. Let's do that. And then we can cycle through, and I've got it shaded here. So right now you're running at 400, and you can hear the engine sputter just a little bit. And that will, if you tap it again, turn it off. So it'll cycle on its own between 400 and 150 watts. Usually to get the full 400, you're gonna have to be stationary. Probably not gonna get that when you're moving. That's how you turn that on. Last little bit in the front seat. Let's do this. Let's give you a total of the accessory ports that you've got up here. So you've got a 12 volt plug here that we are obviously using for a couple things. And then previously mentioned a USB-A and USB-C. Those two go directly to your infotainment system. And then you've also got another 12 volt DC port with a cover in there and tons of storage room here. Let me give you one more look at it right there. And then we can hop to the back seat, take a look back there. And I know we already covered those, but I want to come back to this. So you've got these two that are charging, and then you've got your AC power that'll do up to 400 watts. A couple features in the front seat area, if you will, we'll talk about. So we just tested the radio out, and surprisingly good sound out of this sound system. There's a lot of bass coming out of the front. Now, in trucks, like especially four-door pickups, many times the speakers in the back seats will take care of the bass or the subwoofer. Sometimes they'll even put a subwoofer under the back seats. There's a surprisingly good amount of bass that they figured out how to use the cavities in the front to produce. So that's pretty great. The infotainment system, the nav system, has both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's great to see both of those included. You've got good USB connectivity options. You've got both a USB-A here on the right and a USB-C on the left, and either one of those will connect you into the infotainment system. It's a little bit sluggish in terms of both the amount of time it takes for it to boot up when you start the vehicle, and then when you're trying to navigate through various screens and apps. It's not bad. It's just a little bit underpowered, probably from a memory perspective, but it's very usable. I like the leather wrap steering wheel that they put on these. It's nice. They've been doing this in the Frontiers for a while, and you've got your little grips. Nissan tends to do this. They even did this on my Z car, where it's got a nice little bulge here for your hands where your thumbs would sit on top of it. They do a really good job with the feel and comfort of the driver area. Also up here in this area, I'll point out while we're taking a look here, that you've got dual climate control, automatic climate control, so obviously for both the driver and the passenger. That's really great. And this is a nice little bonus in this SV package. You've got heated seats for both the front driver and the front passenger, and you've got a heated steering wheel. Those are things that in generations past were major upgrades that you had to have in just the premium top of the line package in these trucks. So I like to see that. It's really great. Something else that I want to mention, and Side Shot, who's doing the camera work right now, and if you've not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you do that over at our website at partscounterguru.com, and you'll learn all about who he is. Just pointed something out. So we have a lot of folks that might be interested in this vehicle that are maybe a younger crowd. Maybe you're a teenager or in your 20s and this is your first new vehicle purchase. And this is where I think Nissan has found their sweet spot in this truck. It is a good candidate for that person. And I mentioned in the beginning of this video that I think if you're going to want to go with a four-wheel drive, really the Tacoma might be a better choice. And I'm still going to get to why. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But this vehicle, this Frontier, has a really good sweet spot for a first-time new car buyer that wants a truck. It's a really good, well put together vehicle for that. And it's not going to be as expensive as the Tacoma, the taco truck would be. And you probably also wouldn't need that four-wheel drive capability, or if you have to make some sacrifices to keep the cost down, that would be one. So I think that's where Nissan has a little bit of an advantage here. Here's another positive feature, and I tend to talk about this one on almost every vehicle review that I do. I guess you'd say it's kind of a big deal to me, although I don't really use the feature as much as the other people in my family do, and that is remote start. And this truck has remote start. Every manufacturer tends to do remote start a little bit differently. And one of the things that I like about how they did the remote start in this vehicle, and I've commented on this in a recent Ford Edge review where Ford got it right also. You do the remote start, and today it's 100 degrees here, so you would want to use that in the summertime to cool the cabin down. But then some of the vehicles have that engine shut off as soon as you unlock the door and open it. And the way Nissan does it is the engine keeps running until you put your foot on the brake. And you have to put your foot on the brake to start the vehicle. So the vehicle is already running, but you can't drive away with it until you actually hit that start button on the dash. And I like that, and the reason why I like that is because many times you get in the vehicle, you need a minute or two, you're putting your coffee down, you're trying to plug your phone in, whatever the case may be, to try and make sure that you're set, ready to go, mirrors adjusted, all that stuff. You don't want the engine turning off on you in the middle of that. They did it right with this one. I like the way that Nissan did remote start in the Frontier. It's good. Okay, so let's take a look at the tailgate. I love this. You've got your 4-way flat connector here. That's for a 4-pin. And then you've got your 7-pin underneath. Those are pre-wired into the bumper, all right? And then you've got your backup camera here, and you're gonna wanna back up for this, okay? This is what I love. So the old traditional tailgates, they're heavy. All tailgates are heavy. So you pull the lever, and you drop it. It's a slow assist. And the same thing happens when you bring it up. You get it to a certain point, and it gets easy. Really well thought out. The other thing that I like in the bed is that you have this rail system, and you have these anchor points, and these can be moved. And they're giving you capabilities to put modular accessories back here, as well as tie-down capability for whatever you need. And this is that no-slip bed liner that's sprayed in. This is from the factory. This stuff is fantastic. It will hold anything you put back here with a smooth surface. Keeps it from sliding around. If you try to slide something around on it, like by shoving it in, it'll scuff through it. So it's pretty aggressive, but I love that they're doing this from the factory. This is a nice touch. One of the hardest things to convey in an automobile review is the drive. Trying to describe to someone how a vehicle handles and performs without that person having actually driven it. So I'm going to do my best here, but that's why we have test drives. That's why to this day test drives are still so popular, because people need to experience it for themselves.
Reported ahead.
It handles well. The turning radius on the truck in a parking situation is pretty poor, especially for a mid-size truck. You are going to have to do quite a bit of maneuvering in tight spots. The front end feels a little sluggish. You can tell you're driving a truck for sure. I was reminded the first time I drove it of vehicles that didn't have power steering. It's not that bad, but it's definitely noticeable that you're behind some bigger tires. I really like how the truck handles. We drove it through a lot of windy canyon roads in Yosemite National Park, and it held its own with pretty much any other vehicle out there that was doing the speed limit or possibly a little bit more. And so it handles really well. You know, I'm surprisingly impressed by the amount of power that it's got. 310 horsepower for a truck like this is good. And you're not at all bothered by any sort of power deficiencies. It's a good handling mid-sized truck. You know, is there anything I would change in terms of the performance of the vehicle? Not unless you get into a turbo or a supercharger. I mean, I think you're getting plenty of power for what you're getting. I think you're getting good handling for what you're getting. I think it's a little bit tricky to maneuver in city situations, but if that's going to be a factor to you, I'm not sure that you would be wanting to look at a truck this size. So the negatives or the cons really are only applicable depending on where you're going to use this. Braking's great, acceleration's really good, and cornering also great. It's very smooth, it's very quiet. It's surprisingly quiet for a truck, for a Nissan Frontier pickup. It feels like an Infiniti in terms of the quietness level. I mean, we're at highway speeds now, and you can hear what I hear. So I'm not mic'd up here, it's just going straight into the camera. Blind spots are not a big factor. Sometimes they are in the smaller trucks. I've got no issues with this one. It does have the side blind spot warning indicators on the mirror, just in case. Most vehicles now have those so that you can check before you change lanes. Plenty of visibility out the back window. It is a smaller back window, but again, it's a truck, right? So you're not gonna have a big piece of glass behind you like you would in a sedan. You know, for what these things cost and what you get, it's a really good, solid choice. A couple comfort things on the drive. You know, power seats help find just that right driving position. That helps. I'm not a huge fan of the cloth seats in the SV package. Not a huge deal killer. I mean, if you really want to go out and buy leather seats in a mid-sized truck, I guess you can. It seems like a waste of money to me for this kind of a vehicle. But you can also just get some nice seat covers if this bothers you. They're not bad. That's just not my favorite. But again, back to handling, some great things about this truck. And on the one that we've got, there were some really nice Michelin road tires equipped. And that makes a big difference in both the noise, meaning that there's less noise because of those tires, and the handling and the performance. And those are big factors. You know, again, this is a two-wheel drive model, so you're probably not going to put these tires on the four-wheel drive version, so your experience may vary in terms of noise on that four-wheel drive version. This one's, I mean, it's set up to handle very well on the pavement. No issues there at all. All right, guys, couple thoughts before we close. First, I told you earlier in the video that I had a very particular set of reasons why I would go with a two-wheel drive in this truck versus a four-wheel drive. And if you're gonna do a four-wheel drive, I said the Tacoma might be a better choice. So let me explain why. But first, I wanna tell you that I really like this truck. I like this truck so much that I would consider buying one. And I didn't wanna like this truck when we started the video shoot. I owned a previous generation of this truck. I thought I knew everything I could know about it. A lot has changed, and a lot of it's for the better. So here's what I mean when I say if you're gonna buy this truck, get it in a two-wheel drive. There's a couple factors behind that. Number one, when you go towards a four-wheel drive, it's gonna raise the price considerably. If you price out the four-wheel drive version of this, you're getting into Tacoma territory. I just really feel like if you're gonna go four-wheel drive, go with the Tacoma that has the reputation for overlanding. Nothing against this. This is a fantastic truck. Love it, love it, love it. I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. Keep in mind, this was just the SV version, and we got tons of features on this truck. It's a great truck. That said, this two-wheel drive truck, we got over 500 miles to a tank of gas. If you put this in a four-wheel drive, you're gonna considerably reduce that MPG, and I just don't think it's worth it for a truck like this. If you're gonna get this truck, get it in a two-wheel drive, get that 500-mile range, it's worth it. I also feel like if you're a little bit more budget strapped, maybe you're a first-time new truck owner and you wanna buy and you're looking at the Tacoma versus this is a great option. It's a really great option. I would just stick with the two-wheel drive. All right, guys, that is just about it for this video. Before we go, a couple things real quick. Make sure you check us out on our website at partscounterguru.com. We've got a podcast. You can click on the podcast tab while you're on that website. and it will take you to a list of platforms. Your favorite one will be there. Number 2, make sure you subscribe, give us a like, turn that subscribe button from red to gray, and you will find lots of content on both the podcast and the YouTube side. Way more than just automotive reviews. We cover everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. I got tone, firing.